I never imagined I'd be telling a story like this, but here we are. Let me start by saying I've been living in Oakwood Heights for nearly 5 years. It's one of those neighborhoods with perfectly trimmed lawns, matching houses, and an unspoken rule that everything must look like it popped out of a catalog. Honestly, I didn't mind. I knew what I was signing up for when I bought the house. What I didn't sign up for was Barbara Thompson, or as most neighbors secretly call her, Barb. She's the self-appointed queen of the Homeowners Association, ruling over it with an iron fist for the past 3 years. Barbara is in her mid-50s, always dressed like she's off to tea with royalty, and her blonde hair is pulled so tight it practically gives her a built-in facelift. Her favorite hobby, roaming the streets with a clipboard in hand, hunting for even the smallest HOA violations, like some suburban bounty hunter. Up until recently, I'd managed to stay under her radar. That changed when I injured my back. I slipped on spilled water in my kitchen, and the fall left me with a herniated disc that required surgery. The recovery was long, painful, and exhausting. My doctor arranged for a visiting nurse to come 3 times a week to help with wound care and physical therapy. The trouble started one Tuesday afternoon during one of those routine visits. Sarah, my nurse, is one of the kindest and most professional people I've ever met. She always parks in my driveway and stays for about an hour. I was in the middle of my exercises when the doorbell began ringing over and over like someone was trying to break the button. I limped to the door, wincing with each step, and there she was, Barbara, in all her clipboard-wielding glory, her scowl sharp enough to cut glass. "Excuse me," she said in a tone that dripped with anything but politeness. "There's an unauthorized vehicle in your driveway." I blinked at her, still trying to catch my breath. "That's my nurse's car. She's here to help me recover from back surgery." Barbara's perfectly plucked eyebrows shot up. "Well, according to HOA Regulation 7.4.2, no commercial vehicles may be parked in residential driveways during daylight hours." I forced myself to stay calm. "Barbara, it's not a commercial vehicle. It's her personal car. She's a medical professional providing care." Barbara's lips curled into a smug little smile. "It has a company logo on the door. That makes it commercial. She needs to move it immediately, or you'll be fined $100 per day." Before I could even respond, Sarah appeared at the doorway, sensing the commotion. "Is everything okay?" she asked gently. Barbara turned to her, voice dipped in condescension. "You need to move your vehicle right now. You violate our HOA regulations." Sarah, ever the professional, responded with calm grace. "I'm in the middle of providing medical care to my patient. I'll be done in about 30 minutes, and then I'll leave." Barbara's face flushed red like a warning light. "I don't care what you're doing. Rules are rules. Move it now, or I'm calling a tow truck." My patient snapped. "Barbara, please be reasonable. Sarah is here to help me recover. She'll be gone soon." "Reasonable?" she screeched, her voice climbing to a dog whistle pitch. "I am being reasonable. The rules apply to everyone. No exceptions." I reminded her that there actually were exceptions in the HOA bylaws for medical providers. I'd checked before Sarah ever started coming, but Barbara wasn't interested in logic. She spun on her heel and stomped off, already dialing her phone. Sarah frowned. "Should I move my car? I don't want to cause trouble for you." "Absolutely not," I assured her. "You're providing medical care, and legally you're allowed to be here. Let's just continue." We went back inside and resumed my therapy session, though I could tell she was unsettled. About 15 minutes later, the sound of a tow truck reversing up my driveway sent a jolt of disbelief through me. Barbara had actually called them. I hurried outside as best I could, my back protesting with every step. A burly tow truck driver was already hooking up Sarah's car while Barbara stood nearby with her arms crossed and a smug grin plastered across her face. "Stop!" I shouted, wincing as pain shot up my spine. "You can't tow that vehicle. It belongs to a medical professional currently providing care." The driver looked at me uncertain. "Lady said it's an unauthorized commercial vehicle," he explained with a shrug. "It's my nurse's car," I said firmly, keeping my voice steady. "She's inside right now helping me recover from surgery." Check the HOA bylaws. Section 12.3 clearly states that healthcare workers actively providing in-home care are exempt from parking restrictions. Barbara let out a sharp dismissive laugh. "That's absurd. There's no such exemption," but I was ready for this. I'd printed that exact section after my surgery, anticipating a fight. I asked the driver to wait while I slowly made my way inside to grab the document. When I returned and handed it to him, he read it carefully, then nodded. "Yep, says right here that medical professionals are exempt while providing care." He started unhooking the car. "Sorry for the trouble, man." Barbara snatched the paper from his hands, scanning it with growing fury. "This must be outdated," she snapped. "I never approved this." "It was approved long before you became president, Barbara," I replied calmly. "It's been in the bylaws for years." The tow truck driver clearly wanted no part in this drama. "Look, I can't tow a car that's legally parked according to your own rules. Call us again if you figure something else out," he muttered before driving off. I hoped that would be the end of it. But I had underestimated Barbara's determination to make everything her personal crusade. Her face twisted with rage as she watched the truck leave. "This isn't over," she hissed, storming down the street like a villain in a soap opera. Back inside, Sarah tried to focus on my treatment, though I could tell she felt awful. I forced a small smile. "Don't worry about her. She's all bark and no bite." If only I'd known how wrong I was. The next time Sarah came for my therapy session, just 2 days later, Barbara was already waiting like a hawk. She had set up a lawn chair directly across the street from my house, as if she were settling in for a live performance. The moment Sarah's car pulled into my driveway, Barbara was on her feet, marching over with an ever-present clipboard like it was a badge of authority. I opened the door before she could even press the doorbell, determined to head off another ridiculous showdown. "Barbara," I started firmly. "We've already been through this. Sarah is allowed to park here while providing medical care." Barbara didn't even acknowledge me. She zeroed in on Sarah with a smug little smile. "I reviewed the bylaws more carefully," she announced as if unveiling a master stroke. "While healthcare workers are exempt from the commercial vehicle restriction, they are not exempt from the visitor parking time limit of 45 minutes. Your sessions last an hour. That's a violation." I just stared at her momentarily speechless. "Barbara, are you seriously going to nitpick over 15 minutes? This is medical care, not a garden party." "Rules are rules," she repeated, clearly relishing her new favorite phrase. 15 minutes over is still a violation. Sarah, bless her heart, remained composed. "Mrs. Thompson," she said calmly, "I understand your commitment to the rules, but my patient's recovery depends on completing the full therapy session. Cutting it short could delay his healing process." "Not my problem," Barbara replied coldly. "Either you finish in 45 minutes or the car gets towed." She held up her phone like it was a weapon. "I've got the tow company on speed dial now." I was ready to explode, but Sarah gently touched my arm. "Let's go inside and begin your therapy," she said softly. "Getting upset isn't good for your recovery." She was right, of course. So, I followed her inside. Though focusing on my exercises was next to impossible, I could feel Barbara's presence out there, lurking like a vulture, waiting to swoop. 40 minutes into my session, the doorbell rang again. I opened it to find Barbara on my porch, tapping her watch dramatically. 5 minutes left, she announced with gleeful satisfaction. That was the breaking point. Barbara, this is harassment. I snapped. You're interfering with medical care, which can actually be illegal. For a split second, her eyes widened before narrowing again. Don't threaten me, she hissed. I'm simply enforcing the rules everyone agreed to when they moved here. I'm not threatening you, I said, struggling to keep my voice steady. I'm informing you. If Sarah has to cut my therapy short and it affects my recovery, that's medical interference. Barbara scoffed and walked off, but didn't leave. She returned to her lawn chair like she was enjoying some kind of twisted power trip. When Sarah's session ended at the 1-hour mark as it medically needed to, Barbara reappeared at my door, already dialing. That's it, she declared triumphantly. Tow truck's on its way, and you'll be fined for the violation. Before I could respond, Sarah stepped forward. Mrs. Thompson, she said evenly, I need to inform you that intentionally interfering with prescribed medical care can have serious legal consequences. I documented this interaction and the previous one in my patient's medical record. For the first time, Barbara hesitated, but she quickly put her mask back on. You can't intimidate me with empty threats, she sneered. I know my rights as HOA president. What she didn't know was that Sarah had been documenting everything, from taking photos of Barbara's lawn chair stakeout to recording audio of every confrontation, all with my permission. She had even consulted her supervisor after the first incident, and their legal department was already aware of this situation. When the tow truck arrived, Sarah calmly approached the driver. She explained the situation and showed him official documentation from her healthcare company, stating that interfering with her ability to provide care could be considered a criminal offense in our state. The driver wasn't about to get tangled in legal trouble. Sorry, ma'am, he said to Barbara, shaking his head. I'm not towing this. Then he drove off. Barbara was furious. This is ridiculous, she shouted. You can't just ignore the rules because you think you're special. Actually, Barbara, I said, finally letting my frustration show, there's something called medical necessity. It overrides your precious HOA rules. Maybe talk to a lawyer before you keep digging this hole. Fine, she spat. If that's how you want to play it, I will. For a few blissful days, Barbara seemed to disappear. I started to hope she'd finally realized she was teetering on dangerous legal ground. But then Monday arrived and Barbara came back with reinforcements. This time she had 2 other HOA board members with her. As soon as Sarah parked, Barbara stormed over and physically blocked her from reaching my door. You're trespassing on HOA property. Barbara barked even though we were standing on my private driveway. You need to leave immediately. Sarah tried to step around her. Ma'am, I'm here to provide medical care. Please step aside. And then Barbara did the unthinkable. She shoved Sarah, hands on her shoulders. A hard push. I said, You're not welcome here during business hours. Leave now. I had been watching from my window. My heart pounded as I grabbed my phone and dialed 911. Hello, I need to report an assault, I told the dispatcher. The HOA president just physically pushed my healthcare nurse and is preventing her from entering my home to provide medical care. They assured me officers were on their way. Meanwhile, Sarah, ever composed, backed up and recorded the entire thing on her phone. The other 2 board members clearly wanted no part of it. They stepped away fast, realizing how bad this was. Barbara, I called from the doorway. The police are on their way. You just physically assaulted a healthcare worker and interfered with medical care. Leave my property now. Police? She stammered, her face paling. That's absurd. You can't call the police over HOA rules. I didn't, I said coldly. I called because you committed assault. HOA rules don't give you the right to lay hands on anyone. She looked toward the other board members for support, but they were already speedy walking back to their homes, leaving her to face the music alone. Her confidence wavered. "I was just doing my job," she muttered weakly. When the officers arrived minutes later, both Sarah and I gave statements. Sarah showed them her video too. The officers listened, their faces growing more serious with every passing second. "Ma'am," one officer said, looking Barbara square in the eye, "interfering with medical care is a serious offense, and physical assault is a crime. Show a title or not." Barbara's face went from flushed with rage to ghostly white. "But I'm the HOA president," she kept repeating like it was a magic spell. "That may be true," the officer replied evenly, "but it doesn't give you the right to touch anyone or block medical care." Then came the moment I'll never forget. The officer informed Barbara that she was being placed under arrest for simple assault and interfering with medical care, both serious charges in our state. As they read her rights and placed her in handcuffs, the reality finally hit her. The woman who had strutted around the neighborhood like a queen was now being led to a police car. "This is outrageous," she screamed. "Do you know how much I've done for this community? I was just enforcing the rules." But the law didn't care about her clipboard. She was charged with simple assault, a misdemeanor that could carry up to a year in jail, and with interfering with medical care, a Class E felony punishable by up to 6 years in prison and $3,000 in fines. She made bail, but the judge issued a restraining order preventing her from coming within 50 feet of either Sarah or me. A week later at the emergency HOA meeting, Barbara shuffled in, looking nothing like her usual self. Her hair was limp, her clothes wrinkled, and the smugness she once wore like armor was gone. The board voted unanimously to remove her as president, citing conduct unbecoming of a community representative. "You can't do this to me," she whispered, her voice breaking. "This is my community. I built it. I protected it." But as the gavel came down, the reign of Barbzilla officially ended.